So welcome everyone to the Read to Lead Meet the Author series. It's a brilliant opportunity to connect leaders with authors and to meet the mind behind the book and provide a really interesting dynamic to our learning. I'm Sarah. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the founder of Read to Lead, and we're all about how we connect leaders with authors. How we connect people through learning using brilliant books and powerful conversations to become better leaders in life and business. So this session is with Mike Michalowicz, all about his book, All In, How Great Leaders Build Unstoppable Teams. So Mike, a successful business leader, best-selling author of 8 books, I think, in-demand keynote speaker. It's great to see you again. We spoke to you in the past about Profit First, about Clockwork. So welcome back.
It's a pleasure to be back with you, Sarah.
Thank you. And I can see all your wonderful books behind you.
That's called Marketing 101.
I know it is. And you know what? I absolutely am building a Mike Michalowicz section of my
I love it.
My library.
That's every author's dream, honestly, is to win over a fandom and to have people use our books as a resource. It really is our dream.
It is. And it's so interesting now how we use books so differently. So I don't always read them front to cover like I used to.
Mm-hmm.
I'll often, in Read to Lead, we use the book summaries to kind of get us into new topics and themes. But then I'll use books as a reference, as a resource. So you go to section. It's almost like the old encyclopedia, isn't it? You know, when we're at school.
Yes. And that's the way to consume books. I was just talking with a fellow author this morning, and we're talking about this concept of front loading. And some authors are hesitant to do it, but we were both doubling down on the importance of it, is give the core construct of a book in the first chapter or two, give people the empowerment to follow the process, and then give them the freedom to cherry pick the sections that will serve them. You know, these aren't fiction stories. We don't have to go through the entire arc. We just need to solve the challenge or problem in front of folks. So I love that you consume them that way. That's the way it should be consumed.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think that it gets people then into books that they wouldn't normally, or you can, if you get the summary of it, the key insights, it kind of builds on it, doesn't it, as you go, and you consume what you need at the time, you go to different sections, yada, yada.
There used to be, as a child, I used to read choose your own adventure books where you chose the path. You would read a certain page that says, if you choose option A, go to this page, and option B, go to that page.
Yeah.
I look forward to prescriptive nonfiction books, like the books I write, becoming that kind of status of a choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
And I think with the advancements of technology, Audible is soon capable of doing it with the enhancements of AI and Kindle, these electronic versions of the book can start interfacing with the reader and say, you know, what's the challenge you're facing now? Or where do you struggle for clarity, and bring you to the right section. And I think that's where books are headed. So
brilliant. I love that. I remember those books too. Yeah, everything resonates when you need it to. You arrive at it, you know, you consume it, and you're at different points, aren't you, in the journey? So going back to those books time and time again. Love that. Okay, well, it's wasn't what we're here to talk about, but I love the fact that we just got into that kind of ad lib. So we are here to talk about All In. Love the new book. I guess the first question is, for me, is, you know, why this topic now? In terms of the order of your books, the time that we're in, kind of what prompted you to write about this particular topic, this book, and kind of what's the impact that you're looking to have with it?
Yeah, it's the reason I wrote the book is a little bit of all of the above. My readership is writing to me saying, I've read some of your other books and here's where I'm stuck now. But the catalyst was the COVID pandemic. And prior to COVID, what was a desire post-pandemic had become a demand. I wanted flexibility in my work environment. Now I expect it. Yeah. I wanted to work from home. Now I require it. So the COVID pandemic put this on the fast track, and I was actively writing, but that's when I'm like, I got to get this done. We're in a new workspace. What I'm trying to cater to, or the community I'm trying to serve, is the leaders. If you are a business owner, if you're a manager in a business, if you work with a team, we all have a leadership capacity. And there is a direct correlation between the performance of team and the performance of the leader in serving that team. So it's really around how we can better cater to a community in this new work environment. Work environments are always changing, to have the greatest performance. I would say if we look back a short period, maybe 50 years ago, the team you had today would be the team you have 25 years later. And now the team you have today may not be the team 25 hours later. And so how do we work with those dynamics?
Yeah. Generational leadership as well, and different age groups managing different leaders is an interesting topic, isn't it? And not something that we would have experienced years ago.
Yeah, we're in such a transformative state. In particular with the advancements of artificial intelligence, I think it's putting a lot of these things on steroids, particularly for the knowledge worker space. I think the concern or the opportunity that was coming our way was, robots will start doing the mechanical projects and take away and alleviate those work responsibilities, the plumber and the electrician. And the truth is, those are the secure jobs. It's the knowledge workers, people who are moving information. That's what the computers are very efficient at, which also gives us an opportunity. How can we in the knowledge working space elevate our game and play at a higher level? I think leaders are going to determine this. Do we force our teams or mandate our teams work under the traditional construct of the past, which would actually slow down growth? Or do we say, how can we exploit these changes and this new technology? How can everyone elevate to a new capacity? So a leader has to be really on the edge of forethought, like what's coming down the pike, and then how can we leverage that to our advantage? And that's what I put in the book is these dynamic work environments, how we can adjust our teams to really put people in an area of their talent.
So with that then, jumping to my last question, is where you see this going forward. I mean, we don't have a crystal ball, right? But what is your thought on that? Like, where is it heading? And what challenges do we need to be thinking about what's to come?
I think the traditional work structure, which was the pyramid structure, it was the boss, so Sarah at top, and then there's a line down, and you have all of the direct reports, the C-suite, the CFO and the CCO and so forth. And then you have people in subordinate positions that were perhaps doing the frontline work. The pyramid structure was the traditional construct of an organization. It's predicated upon this thing called command control. I send direction down, commands. I get control, feedback back. But it's a little bit like the telephone game. And so I was removed from what's actually happening. The new structure is a more like web-like structure where people are put in categories where they can really leverage their talents. But what this negates or avoids is titles. So the traditional structure was, I have a title, a need, and I need to find talent to match the title. Now, don't match talent to title, match talent to task. It starts blurring the lines. I'll give you a quick example. I had a receptionist in my old business. This goes back 15, 20 years ago. And my receptionist was responsible for greeting customers, answering the phones, but also doing invoicing, some data entry when there wasn't customer activity. Her name was Petra, was excellent at the customer interface. I mean, she excelled in that area. She was not talented in the data entry and the invoicing. And therefore I said, she's not a fit for this job. I guess we can't keep her employed here. Thank God I didn't conclude that. I had another person in sales. His name was Paul. And Paul was very good, ironically, at data analysis. He could close deals because he always understood the leverage with the data. He was horrible at the farming in sales, meaning maintaining relationships. So I said, my gosh, Petra can do some of the reception responsibilities and some of the sales responsibilities. She is a relationship builder. So we transformed her into that capacity of a relationship builder. And Paul was transitioned into our number cruncher. And he started doing the data entry. Both of them excelled as a result. Now, there is one challenge. If historically we've been associated with titles, there is a form of entitlement. I am the salesperson. I am the CFO.
Quite attached to titles, aren't they?
Well, we totally are. And for a small business, it's a major risk. I have a small business of 10 employees. I want to have a CFO to look big. But now that CFO, who's really a bookkeeper, sees themselves as a CFO. And they may try to dictate a higher salary. They may not get it. They may say certain jobs and responsibilities are below me. The lesson is match talent to task, not talent to title.
So that totally makes sense. How do you practically do that from a recruitment perspective when you start out though? Because I can imagine, when you post a job on whatever platform, a title is a great way of signposting it, isn't it? And kind of, this job is broadly around this. How do you navigate that?
Yeah. So I would say perhaps it's not a great way of recruiting people because it causes a comparative effect.
Mm,
I did business in computer technology. The typical title was computer technician. So I'd say I'm looking for computer technician, and so does all my competitors. When I
mm,
changed my ad to say nerds wanted, I spoke to the culture of organization that we were lighthearted, that we kind of were self-deprecating.
yeah.
And then I put in kind of the cultural components. It was similar requirements to many technicians, albeit it was slightly different. But by leading by that, the right person said, oh my gosh, I've found my home.
Mm.
So we obliterate titles from even the inquiry standpoint at the very beginning.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a great way of getting across your culture, like you said, and your values up front.
And it differentiates you. And it
Yeah.
differentiates you. Because if I said computer technician wanted, it becomes a comparative effect. Well, who has better benefits? Who has the better salary? By saying nerds wanted, and our first line was, do you love Star Wars? Because it is the best movie ever. We were now a one of one.
Yeah.
And we said, we need someone that does the tech. We need the Spock working here. And it brought about relatability. So it wasn't just cultural, but it led with that. Then it had the qualifications, but it was incomparable to others. So they couldn't say, well, there's a little better deal here or there.
It's a really good point as well about moving away from, it reminds me of what you were talked about in the book with like the cost of bad hires and the fact that people often wait to recruit when you're desperate for the resource. So you're
Yeah.
posting up it's kind of a bit of an old fashioned way of doing it now. It's sort of that having that always on relationship building and mindset of where you're taking your team and having those conversations and building that network. You talked about the recruitment mindset.
Yes. I'll give you the
Yeah,
ultimate hack for that.
go on.
And we have so many businesses doing it now. I invite everyone listening in right now to just try this out. This is the core tenet that the top contenders, the A players, which I don't really like that title because we're labeling people, but the top performers inevitably are the top learners. Sarah, if you love, you read to lead, which I know you do, you're likely to be an avid reader, right? It's by default because what we are passionate about, we want to learn more about.
Yeah.
Knowing this, our job when it comes to recruiting is putting out not job opportunities, but putting out education because that's the honey that attracts the bee. If you put out education, who will be attracted to it? The learners. And the learners are the A players. So instead of doing interviews, put on workshops. I need to hire a bookkeeper, put on a workshop for a bookkeeper. If I need a bookkeeper with a certain degree of experience, make a prerequisite. You have to have 3 years of bookkeeping experience, and we're going to teach you this advanced technique because the people who are looking to advance themselves are usually advanced already. So by putting on educational events, you'll attract people not just looking for jobs, looking to learn. So people gainfully employed, you attract the best candidates. Then as you teach people, you can observe and cherry pick the best candidates. Quick story I have in the book, Home Depot. I don't know if they're in the UK, but are they? Is Home Depot? No?
I don't think they're called that, but I've read the bit in the book.
Okay, so
you share it though. It's a good story.
Yeah, so Home Depot is big in the US and you have the equivalent in the UK. But what they do is they have this workshop where you can build a birdhouse. Now, it does a few things. It's only educational. They don't say they're looking to hire anyone. They say learn to build a birdhouse. You come down, maybe you bring a child or a family friend, and now you do this project together. They ingratiate you with the store because you have a positive experience. But they have an employee there observing participation. Top candidates always reveal themselves in the same 3 steps. First, they're curious. They're the ones who show up. I want to learn. Second, they have desire, meaning I have questions. I want to learn more. I want to be better. And ultimately, they have thirst. I can't stop this. This was designed for me. So they have an employee at Home Depot observing who's showing curiosity, they're showing up, who has desire and thirst. They will tap them on the shoulder and say, we're so happy you came to this workshop. Do you know you're showing the behaviors and the skills of a Home Depot employee? Have you ever considered working here? So they're recruiting people without those people knowing they're being recruited. The last little tip I have, so I really invite people to do this education. I know it can feel daunting. So here's the shortcut. Go as a student for the class or the group that you're looking to hire. So I'm looking to hire a bookkeeper. Go to a bookkeeping workshop or class, not to become a bookkeeper yourself, but to observe the other students. It's the ultimate shortcut to observing people who have curiosity, desire, and thirst.
Love that. It's kind of like the evolution, the modern version of the university milk rounds or, the old style assessment centres. How does that, so I can see totally how that works with larger businesses. What about smaller businesses or sort of more entrepreneurial startups? How does that
Yeah,
work
how
for
do you
them?
do it? So when I was writing this book and revealing these techniques, I started working with businesses. There was one company, it's a bookkeeping firm back here in the US that has 6 employees. So they're the definition of a small business. It's very hard to find bookkeepers right now. It's not an appealing job title for many people. So they were feeling that not many applicants were applying and they're feeling the struggle. They teamed up with a university. Now, interestingly, outside the United States, they didn't need people that were local physically. They just need people that were talented. The owner, her name is Tuesday Brooks. She teamed up with a university, I want to say in Kenya, Nairobi, but don't quote me exactly where it was. They wanted to offer a bookkeeping course. They had 12 applicants, by chance happened to be all female applicants, that went through this class. So 12 students go through it. During this process, the owner, Tuesday Brooks, is doing video education. They had an adjunct professor locally teaching, and they vetted out the top 3 candidates who were best fit for Tuesday. They didn't know they were being vetted. They were all learning how to become bookkeepers. At the end of this process, she invited those 3 people to join them, and they did. She got 3 employees. But my favorite part of the story is the other 9 individuals. All of them have jobs as bookkeepers at other companies. Everyone gets elevated through education, and you simply get the opportunity to cherry pick the people who are the best fit for you.
If Angela's watching, might resonate particularly with her. There's I'm conscious of time as well. There's a couple of questions in the chat, but I just want to move on to the point about you talked in the book about building a community and how that's different from building a culture. And Simon's also asked, what are the key components for creating a sense of culture or a sense of community with a team full of new hires? So it's kind of 2 questions there. What I'd like you to just explain is a little bit about what you mean by building a community versus a culture, and then how you might go about that with lots of new people.
So our team here did extensive research around culture because that's what we've been told. You have to have a culture. And I just want to give a slight variant of what I've noticed. When people define culture, they usually set up rules. It's their values of the company or immutable laws, whatever they are. The problem was that it causes this myopic tunnel vision. I say, here's my rules, and therefore I want other people to have the same rules, and therefore we complement each other. But what it does is cause this tunneling effect. Community is a variant where we actually seek diversity in opinion and belief, which causes conflict, not negative conflict, but conflict, which then brings about resolution, which inevitably is the best of the sum of the parts. So culture says, I want more people like me. Community says, I want more people that complement me, which are different. That's the difference.
So more expansive, isn't it? And it's more about collaborating and creating those synergies. Brilliant.
Exactly. I mean, think about London. I was recently out in London, and what a diverse community you have. And what's so interesting is that diversity brings, I've had the best Indian food of my life in London. What's so interesting is that diversity brings about this best of kind of scenario. Could you imagine if London was just one type of person over and over again? It would be myopic. It wouldn't have the flavor to it. And these organizations that don't have that cultural diversity are becoming flavorless. So that's why I want to invite people, great leaders bring in that diversity intentionally.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. Guys in the audience, if you would like to ask Mike a question, you can put it in the chat or also dial in. You've got the dial in function. So I invite anyone who would like to, we've got just 5 minutes left, so we can probably take 1 or 2 questions. So do hit the dial in button so Angela's asked a question. How do customers or clients respond to no job title on, say, an email?
Oh, that's a great question. There are certain circumstances where you need to have a job title. So we have a president for our company, and that's necessary when someone wants to be president. It's not me. But what you'll find in most cases is someone wants a need addressed or concern addressed, and a role will serve that. So I can respond and say, I'm responsible for our customer service or customer journey or customer experience. I don't have to use a title. I can simply say responsible for.
Yeah.
That's how you get around it. You may not be able to obliterate titles. We just don't use many here, including myself. Yes, technically I own our organization, but the most common responsibility is speaking and interviews, like what we're doing right now. So I'm the speaker guy thingy is often the term that comes out. But I can be
Speak
very
podcast.
dynamic based upon the circumstance of what the customer needs.
Hope that answers your question, Angela. Okay, we've got a dial in from Matt, so let's just welcome Matt in. Nothing else. Great to test the technology. Hey, Matt.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, Mike. Thank you. Great to have you back, by the way. Profit first, your last chat. Got an awful lot out of that. So thank you.
Oh, I love hearing that.
Back. That was great. Mike, this question actually is about, from a slightly different perspective, I'm joining or likely to join a team within a small PR agency in the next sort of couple of weeks. And I guess it's kind of, how do I avoid doing a Janet and settle in and become a good teammate in this new organization?
Yeah, so how do you become a good teammate? And what we have to do in the research and also my experience is a slow rollout. So someone that shows up as the outsider, the first person, the newest person is considered an outsider. The best way to integrate into a firm when you're the new person is to raise your hand and say, I'm the new person. I really want to connect with the firm and understand you guys. I need your help. What's so interesting about the human ego is when we're asked to render advice, you just ask me a question, my prefrontal cortex lights up, my whole brain lights up and says, oh my gosh, I'm important because I can share my opinion. And then I render my opinion. So the new person who asks questions and says, I need help, I want your opinion and advice and experience, will actually cause greater connection because you're illuminating people's brains and serving our ego. That's how I get started. Slowly also reveal humbleness. And it's like, I ain't perfect everywhere. I think the mistake someone that's new with a team, particularly in a leadership position, says, I got this right, I am perfect, and think that's representation of strength. But the real representation of strength is being humble and showing the weak spots, because that means we have confidence in ourselves that we can show that. And it'll invite our team to also be humble themselves.
Yeah, that's exactly the quandary I've got, is getting that balance right, because I'm being brought in as kind of the senior consultant to manage client relationships and to a degree support the internal team that's more junior. At the same time, I'm not going to walk in and just go, yeah, I've got all the answers, because I don't know their culture or business or process.
That's right.
I'm just trying to get the balance right.
If in doubt, ask more questions and take longer to render opinion than the other version. The more time you spend learning and showing that I don't know what's going on, I just want to understand and accumulate, generally that serves you better.
Great. Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome, mate. Good seeing you.
Great one. Thanks, Matt. Okay, we've got just 2 minutes left. Let's see if we can shoehorn in something very quick. Melanie's asked, how best can we enhance the community aspect with nearly everyone when nearly everyone is virtual? Got any quick thoughts to that one?
Yeah, so try to de-virtualize it. Now, I'm not saying necessarily you have to have people come in and meet face-to-face, but my gosh, if you can afford that in some capacity with some frequency, do it. We have virtual team members. We try to get face-to-face time once a quarter, but it really happens twice a year for sure. The humans need tactile experience. Yeah. There's something missing if we don't get it, so try to do that. But you can also de-virtualize by sending some tactile things. We will send a welcome onboarding gift. That's super nice. We will listen in. Like recently, one of our members moved to Texas, and we said, oh my gosh, we need to send this big 10-gallon Texas cowboy hat because they're new to Texas. Those artifacts, those things become significant. Yeah. Here's a quick experiment you can run. Right now, wherever you're seated, look around your desk and whatever the items may be. This is bizarre, but I have a little whistle in a bag here. You know where you got these things. Yeah. I know exactly where I purchased this or who gifted it to me. The human mind is extraordinary at maintaining an inventory of what we received. So by giving artifacts, items, and elements that are relevant to the job or relevant to the human connection, they'll never forget it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really boosts the branded items, but sending books, right?
Yeah, right.
Tactical.
And it doesn't even necessarily need to be branding. Here's another item. This is a unique timer. You just twist it and it sets a timer.
I know. I bought one of them after you went on about it before, Mike.
Oh, I love it.
It's so familiar.
I know exactly where I got this. And so if you gift your team member this, there's no branding on this, but if it serves them, they'll never forget you were the source.
Neat. Really like that. Okay. We've come to time. Mike, thank you so much. Given us lots to think about. We could ask many, many more questions. In terms of just before, as you go, can you point us in the direction of how to find out more, particularly, I guess, practical support to implement the ideas from the book?
Yeah, two things. So you can go to the website for resources, All In by Mike, my first name, allinbymike.com. There is a YouTube video, Unstoppable Teams, I think is the title, or How to Build Unstoppable Teams, but just write the word Unstoppable Mike or Unstoppable Teams. I did a keynote that's about an hour long that gives away a lot of juice and stuff that's not included in the book. So check that out. It's on YouTube.
Excellent. We can share that in our community. I guess you use Mike, not Mike Michalowicz, right?
That's right. Yeah. Good luck spelling Michalowicz. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Mike, so much. Great to see you again. All the very
See you.
best and congratulations on the book. Fantastic.